What are American things that Americans don't realize are just in America? When I studied abroad in Germany my junior year, I thought I was being the perfect guest. My host family, the Mullers, picked me up from the airport and I immediately offered Mrs. Muller a huge smile and said, "So great to meet you. How are you?" She just stared at me. Mr. Muller grabbed my suitcase without a word. Their 16-year-old daughter, Lisa, gave me a polite nod. The car ride to their house in Stuttgart was completely silent, except for my nervous attempts at small talk that died in the air. For 3 weeks, I kept getting these weird looks. At the bakery, when I'd cheerfully ask, "How's your day going?" the woman behind the counter would furrow her brow and glance at her coworker like I'd asked something inappropriate. At my university, when I'd greet people with, "Hey, what's up?" they'd give me actual weather reports or look genuinely concerned like something was seriously wrong. I thought Germans just hated Americans. My roommate Sophie from France pulled me aside one day. "Emma, why do you smile at everyone like a crazy person?" I was confused. I was just being friendly. She shook her head. "You're making people uncomfortable. You look fake." But the worst moment came during a family dinner 3 weeks in. The Mullers had invited their neighbors over, and I was desperately trying to make a good impression. When Mrs. Schmidt arrived, I grabbed her hand enthusiastically and said, "It's so wonderful to meet you. How are you? How's your family doing?" She looked startled and began telling me about her son's unemployment struggles and her husband's recent surgery complications. For 20 minutes, in painful detail. I stood there nodding and smiling, having no idea how to escape the conversation I'd started. That night, Mr. Muller finally said, "Emma, why do you always ask questions you don't want answers to?" I had no idea what he meant. He set down his fork and explained that in Germany, when you ask someone how they are, you're expected to actually listen to the answer. It's not a greeting, it's a genuine question that requires a genuine response. In America, we say, "How are you?" the same way we say hello. It's not really a question. It's just noise we make at each other to fill silence. I felt my face go red. Every awkward interaction for the past month suddenly made sense. The next day, I tested it. I asked my German classmate, Anna, "How are you?" and actually waited for a real answer. She told me about her grandmother's cancer diagnosis, her anxiety about her thesis, and her boyfriend moving to Munich for work for 15 minutes. And when she finished, she looked at me with this grateful expression and said, "Thank you for asking. Nobody asks anymore." I started paying attention to how Americans communicated back home. We say, "We should hang out sometime," with zero intention of making actual plans. We ask, "How are you?" but start talking about ourselves before they can answer. We tell people, "Let's do coffee," and never follow up. We say, "Oh my god, we need to catch up," to people we're actively avoiding on purpose. Mrs. Muller noticed me watching people more carefully. One morning at breakfast, she said, "You're different now. You actually listen when people speak." I realized she was right. Back home, I'd interrupt people mid-sentence. I'd ask my mom how she was doing while scrolling through Instagram. I'd tell my friends about my problems without ever asking about theirs. I was performing friendship instead of actually being a friend. The breaking point came when I video called my best friend Rachel back in Boston. I asked her how she was and she said, "Good," in that bright fake voice we're all trained to use. So I asked again, "No, really, Rachel, how are you actually doing?" She got quiet. Then she started crying. Her parents were getting divorced and she'd been dealing with it completely alone for 2 months because every time someone asked how she was, she knew they didn't really want to know the truth. "You're the first person who asked twice," she said through tears. That's when I understood what Mr. Muller meant. We Americans have turned genuine human connection into a performance. We've made asking about each other so meaningless that people suffer in silence because they know nobody's actually listening to the answer. My last night in Germany, Mrs. Muller hugged me goodbye. "You came here as a loud American girl," she said softly. "You're leaving as someone who knows how to be present with people." I've been back in the US for 6 months now. When someone asks me how I am, I tell them the truth. And when I ask someone how they are, I put my phone away and actually listen to their answer. Most people still don't know what to do with that kind of honesty.